the biggest surprise of my life were the lessons that those cells showed me. And on that particular night was the understanding of actually how cells were controlled. And what was unique about it is this was about 15 years of research that took me away from genes, the belief that genes control life, which everyone else was on that path. And I started recognizing that genes indeed were not controlling life. And when I found out what controlled life, I was shocked into another understanding, another reality. And interesting, I mean, although I got the consciousness hit me right there at that moment, it still took me a bit of time to realize that we are programmed. And even though I was consciously aware of this new understanding about that we are spiritual entities, that we're not even in the body, and this was through a molecular understanding of how the cell worked, it just floored me because I needed to learn how to put that into my life, not just the awareness of it. So there was a little bit of a lag period, and I think this is important because there's a tendency to think that if we just know something, then that's going to change our lives. And this gets into the issue of the consciousness and the programming of patterns and behavior, which came out of this work. And
okay, well, it may have been an epiphany for you, but I'm still not sure that I get it.
Okay, well, let me tell you how it works. It was this, the concept that genes control life. This is what's being taught in schools right now, and it's in every textbook everywhere about the concept, something referred to as genetic determinacy.
Right.
Which means that the genes that you get at conception are essentially blueprints for the rest of your life, and that
right.
you live your life through this. And what the issue was when I started working on these stem cells, one of the big things that I found out right away is that the character or behavior or traits of the cells change when I put it in one culture environment or change the environment and put them in another environment. They change their behavior, they change their expression, that they were healthy or sick, or they changed into different kinds of cells. And
are you suggesting it's adaptation?
Well, it's basically, it is a dynamic process where life is continuously reading the environment and adjusting the biology to conform to the perception of that environment. So it's not your genes are not your fixed fate. Genes are potentials. What you do with those potentials are based on how you see the environment. And this was the big thing. I mean, after all these years of thinking you want to change your life, you're going to change your genes. And now all of a sudden it says, you want to change your life, you have to understand how if you just change your perception of the environment, your whole life can change. So you can talk about, for example, a person who has terminal cancer, and they have bought into the story that this is the end, and their life is waning right now. And all of a sudden they just get this belief change that says, no, I'm not going to buy that. I'm not buying that. And they get up and they get out and they exhibit what's called a spontaneous remission. It's like, what happened in this case is they changed something about their perception. Belief changed. You can see it in another case, multiple personalities. Multiple personalities, and one personality can have blue eyes and then switch to the other personality and have gray eyes in
really?
less than, yes, in
really?
less than a minute.
That's documented.
Yes, and what else is documented is this, is that they can have allergies in one personality and less than a minute later change personalities, and those things that would have caused a severe allergic reaction just a minute before.
Okay, slow up. I really need to understand that this is true. You're saying that a person with multiple personalities, one of them can have blue eyes, but when they switch personalities, actually it's documented, the eyes
change color right there in front of your face. And this is hard kind of stuff to believe, right?
It is, yes.
And yet it's exciting because it's a pathology in the sense that they're not in control of it, but it represents an ability that we have the power of changing our expression when we change our perception of life.
Doctor, where can a person do some reading, Bruce, where can a person do some reading to verify that, for example?
Okay, there's an organization of it was a dissociation. I'll get it and then we can post it on the line, okay? There's an organization for dissociation studies, dissociation being people separating from their personality and acquiring other personalities. There's a big organization that studies this, and there's data to all this effect. Even, the story, The Three Faces of Eve, I think that movie that came out, do you remember something like that?
Yes, oh yes.
I met that woman, and she's actually one of the first ones that she had a severe allergy to strawberries that caused her to get hives in one of her personalities, and when she changed personality, that allergy didn't affect her.
That I believe. Let's go back for a second to spontaneous remissions. Now, I know that's true. That happens.
Yes.
I don't know how frequently. I think it's fairly rare.
But it happens to which people express it. This is important. What is uniform about those that express it versus that don't?
What is? I assume that you looked at studies of spontaneous remissions. How many have there been?
Oh, the number's in thousands, but in the sense that the problem is that when you try to document it, then there's a take back where they say, well, the original diagnosis wasn't necessarily correct all of a sudden. And this is the issue because it doesn't conform to an understanding that medicine likes to play with, except they're very aware of it. It's called the placebo effect. And what it really represents is, what is the placebo effect? It's an ability to heal yourself based on the belief that whatever you're doing at that moment is something that will effectively heal you.
Yes, as long as you believe it will work.
Yes, and people should know this as well. There's an equal and opposite effect called the nocebo effect. And that's the one that says if you are told that you can't do something about it or that it's too late.
I'm sorry, son, you have a brain tumor. You have 6 months. It's irreversible and inoperable.
That belief system itself will promote that situation. And it's a very important understanding because it says, look, placebo, nocebo, it's the same concept. It's basically, it says what you believe and your perceptions will change the biology that you're expressing. And this is actually a new understanding, and it's not that new. In fact, science has actually been publishing information about how this mechanism occurs since 1990.